my goodness. Wow. Thank you guys so much for coming and coming in from the rain and everything. Thank you for having me. I can't tell you how excited I am. This has been an amazing experience already. This is the greatest facility I think I've ever been in related to Parkinson's, and that's a genuine compliment. You guys have been wonderful. And obviously, we're going to hop into my talk, but I wanted to share something with you guys because I thought it was fun. I was at Whole Foods this morning because, I'm Austin hippie like that. And I find the Whole Foods everywhere that I go. And I was at the breakfast bar, and I thought today would be a good bacon day because, I'm going to see all you. I need my protein and everything. So I walk up to the breakfast bar, and it's eggs and, tater tots, and I'm not sure what else was there, but there was no bacon, and I was so bummed. This has nothing to do with my talk. I just, this is a fun experience. So nobody's in there because it's raining and it's 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get a few eggs. And I turn to go, and the guy walks up next to me. Nobody else is really at Whole Foods. And he's like, oh, I come here every morning for the breakfast bar. I'm like, really? They don't even have bacon. And he's like, it's over there. And so I was like, oh my gosh, you just saved my morning. So I walk over, and not only is there bacon, there's guacamole too, which you have to have together. And so I told him, this is divine intervention. If I hadn't seen you, I wouldn't have bacon this morning. And he looks at me and he's like, as long as you go and make someone else's Saturday great, then we'll call it even. And I was like, I'm going to go see a lot of people this morning. So you guys can think random stranger that's probably just an angel dropped down by God himself to be like, Sarah needs bacon today. So anyway, has nothing to do with creating your Parkinson's plan of attack. But I'm Sarah King. We're going to chat about that today. And essentially, your Parkinson's plan of attack is your tool to fight back fear and reclaim your future despite your diagnosis. So let's hop in. So who is this talk for? This is for anyone who's been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and you may feel uprooted, anxious, or overwhelmed with what that means for you, your family, and your future. This is for you if you're a spouse, who I've met a lot of, a child, a loved one, or a care partner who's wanting to ensure your future with your loved one is as positive and vibrant as possible. This is also for you if you've been frustrated with the negative or even depressing information that you found on the internet about Parkinson's and the outcomes. There's no doomsday talk today, I promise you that. And this is for you if you found the resources like your healthcare practitioners, your support groups, etc., lackluster in your area, which is obviously not you guys because this is a great facility. So, what you're going to learn today, first and foremost, you're going to learn about the mindset that it takes to redefine your diagnosis, which I have a feeling you guys all have because you're here on a Saturday morning in the rain. You're going to learn how to structure your Parkinson's plan of attack, specifically the 3 critical components that you'll need to include. And then we're going to make sure that you guys can enhance your community and get involved to support you along the way. So I've got some resources. You guys have an amazing facility here. But I will share some community resources with you as well. And this is Jenny. This was one of my first clients in Austin, and she's doing the power walk. We were working on, coordinating those arm swings, as you guys probably have worked on quite a bit yourselves. So this presentation is not for you if you're waiting for me to give you a cure for Parkinson's. I don't have one. Spoiler alert. Fingers crossed for Michael J. Fox to figure that one out. If you're looking for a quick fix that takes 0 effort or change to your lifestyle, aka you're not ready to put intent, live with intent, which is not you guys. And then this presentation is also not for you if you think anything that's not medication is snake oil. And I put this in here because I've actually had people reach out to me and say, you're selling snake oil. And I just want to say, if broccoli is snake oil, we're really in trouble. So occasionally some people do think that spinach and broccoli are snake oil, but okay, so to make this easy today, I'm going to throw a lot of things at you. And I created a 19-page Parkinson's Plan of Attack Foundation's e-guide that I'm really, really proud of, and it has a lot of this information in it. If you're in my community, which I know some of you guys are, you probably already have this, but if you don't, I created a special link for you guys that is on the screen right here, or if you're watching on the replay or on the webcast, it should be above your or around your video somewhere. So snap a picture of that. Don't worry about taking too many notes because a lot of them are in that e-guide. Okay, so a question that I get often is why Parkinson's? And we'll speed through this, but essentially I've been at this for a long time. This is the Time cover in 2008 in December about the sorry state of American health. I was a junior in college and they talked nothing about prevention. And all they talked about was how our healthcare system is failing, and they give no nod to prevention, so I made sure to write them a letter, and they published it in the editorial section in the next issue, which my dad saved for me, so thanks, Dad. And we'll fast forward. Eventually I got my doctorate in physical therapy at Texas State down in San Marcos, and I joined a small outpatient clinic. These are my fellow PTs in Austin, and so I floated between outpatient world and acute care, which means, you guys probably know, but acute care is when you see a physical therapist right after you have a procedure and you're like, no, really, go away, I don't feel good. And then outpatient, where you come in and you get therapy. And I loved the setting. I loved working with anyone who had a neurological diagnosis, traumatic brain injury, stroke, MS, anything, you name it. I was really excited. I love neuro. And so as time went on, I eventually got my first client who had been diagnosed with Parkinson's. And she came in, she had been diagnosed 3 years ago. This super adorable, petite woman came in, sat down and said, I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's. My doctor told me that I would be in a wheelchair in 5 years. It's been 3 years and I'm falling. I stopped doing my own laundry. I stopped emptying the dishwasher because not only am I terrified of falling, my back hurts, my shoulders hurt, I'm exhausted. I really don't do a lot because I'm just, what's the point? And she stopped doing nightly walks with her husband, which she loved, which I can relate to because it's my favorite thing to do in the evening is walk with my husband. And so she looked at me and she said, I'm not sure what you can do for me, but my doctor told me to come, and so I'm here. And I was like, all right, well, super green physical therapist, ready to conquer the world. I said, give me 30 days. And she's like, all right. So this was before I was certified in Parkinson's. All I really knew was about LSVT big. I wasn't certified, like I said. And so we set to work. And I just, I have a personal trainer background. And one of my mantras is, if it's not challenging you, it's not changing you. So you can imagine, how many people have gone through physical therapy with a personal torturer like myself? Yeah, okay. So you guys know what that's like. 30 days goes by, and, she's pretty quiet as we go. But we get to the end of her, 4 weeks. Her insurance was done paying for therapy. And her back pain was gone. Her shoulder pain was gone. She had gotten back to emptying the dishwasher, doing housework, walking with her husband. And she looked at me and she said, you gave me my life back. And I was like, well, this is what I want to do forever. And that was just the moment that I decided to pursue Parkinson's. And fast forward a year, I got certified in the POWER program for physical therapy. I joined Austin's nonprofit Power for Parkinson's, who does free exercise classes for people with Parkinson's and their care partners in Austin. I was also learning a lot about the brain-gut axis because of some of my own health issues, which if that doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. We'll talk about that later. But 2 things happened. One, I wanted to make a handout for my patients about drinking water, and the hospital told me I couldn't. And then, which I thought was a little bit odd since we're trying to help people get healthier at the hospital, I just want to tell you all that water's good for you, and sometimes when you don't drink it for 20 years, you don't feel good. You don't have to raise your hand if you haven't had a drink of water in 20 years. I won't make you do that. And the other thing that happened was I was noticing that people would come in, like my first client, and I would do their evaluation. I'd send it off to insurance, and they would say, you get 4 visits. And, the research supports at least 12 visits, 2 to 3 times a week, 4 to 6 weeks. And I had to fight tooth and nail just to get people the care that they deserved, the minimum amount of care that they deserved. And people would finish their therapy with me after 4 to 6 visits, sometimes 8 if we were really lucky. And they would just look at me and say, this is making me feel so good. Can we just continue? And I couldn't, and then eventually I decided that I could, and I would. So Invigorate was born, and I started out driving around in my Honda Accord, seeing people at their homes doing power moves. Again, Jenny and her friend, who doesn't have a diagnosis of Parkinson's, she just wanted to come work out. And Jean down there at the bottom, we were working on hand-eye coordination. And so I'd drive around Austin. We'd work out in people's homes. And I would make exercise videos and just informational videos. Don't judge me. So I look like kind of an Oompa Loompa color up there in that, on these bright lights. It doesn't show me like that on my presentation. Anyway, started making YouTube videos just for my clients who wanted information that I couldn't repeat over and over. And my online following grew because, as you guys know, there are very few resources for people diagnosed with Parkinson's, especially positive ones, and which is why I love this place. And so people kept reaching out over and over, and what I noticed was a really unfortunate theme. People, just like you, were feeling lost in the system, confused and overwhelmed about what they could be doing besides taking more medication to improve their symptoms. And then they were also really terrified of what the future would hold. So I don't know if that resonates with you guys. You don't have to raise your hand, but it's just the theme that I had been hearing from a lot of people. So I had essentially a light bulb moment that what people needed was more than just exercise. People needed help formulating an entire plan of attack that was realistic, actionable, with strategies that they could slowly start implementing into their daily life that were based in the research and also had a powerful impact on their symptoms. So this was kind of the moment that I knew I could have a bigger impact on healthcare than just exercising with people. Because, it's like give a person a fish, they eat for a day, teach a man to fish, they're feasting their whole lives. I may have improv that a bit, but, the general theme. So what I really wanted to do was empower people, just like you, with the tools that you needed to take charge of your own health and not have to depend on healthcare practitioners like myself and the people that you see for all of the answers, for all of the strategies. So that brings me to today. So we've built an online community of over 6,000 people. A lot of you guys are in our tribe, affected by Parkinson's online. So that's on YouTube. We've got the Invigorated community, which you guys are all welcome to join. I'll give you an invite at the end. And we've graduated over 500 people from our online programs, the Plan of Attack workshop, which we're going to touch on a lot of that stuff today, and then the Parkinson's Booster program, which is an exercise program for people with Parkinson's. And I'm not going to read all of these, nor do they, are they big enough for you to read, but these are just some of the feedback that I've gotten about the Plan of Attack and the exercise programs. And this is Cheryl with, obviously, when I say all these things, it's not to say that exactly what I do with people is what makes the difference. It's the empowerment that people feel and the action that they can take, which hopefully you guys can today. Cheryl felt empowered enough and strong enough to get back up on skis after not skiing for a really long time. Larry was able to walk his son down the aisle at his wedding, which he was really, really nervous about being able to do. And then Wyman got back on the bike after a really rough time of post-fall injuries and whatnot. So, before we hop into everything around the Plan of Attack, I want to be really clear. I don't have a cure for Parkinson's, again. Nothing I tell you today is going to be rocket science, nor will it require any fancy equipment. And the information I tell you today does nothing if you don't act on it. So the only reason the people that I've told you about get any of the results they do is because they took the information I'm about to teach you and they acted on it. And if they can do it, so can you. So, what is a Parkinson's plan of attack? Let me drink some water. I'm 3 water bottles in already this morning, so. Yes, I've literally have 6 up here. Okay. What is a Parkinson's plan of attack? So, your Parkinson's plan of attack centers all around the neurotransmitter dopamine. So, have you guys heard of dopamine? Okay, great. Hello, dopamine, your best friend. Dopamine is responsible for coordinating your body's movement, making memories and helping you learn, motivation, helping you experience pleasure and process pain, keeping you awake and alert during the day, increasing creativity. So dopamine is incredibly important, obviously. And when you were first experiencing your symptoms of Parkinson's, the research says that typically you have lost about 60 to 80% of the cells that are producing dopamine in your brain, which sounds really scary. But it also means that you have 20 to 40% of your cells that are continuing to function properly. So hooray for that. We want to focus on that 20 to 40% of healthy cells that still remain. Does this make sense so far? Were you covering? Okay. All right, so the 3 components of your Parkinson's plan of attack, all centered around dopamine. Component number 1 is we're going to learn how to maximize your dopamine. Component number 2 is we're going to learn how to protect your brain. And then component number 3 is all about supplementing your diet, and not in the traditional go out and buy vitamin B12, but we're going to talk about supplementing your plan with other strategies as we go along. So, this is, here what we're going to start with. This is just a chart. This is to get your mind wrapped around why we approach Parkinson's in this way. We've essentially got a cup that we need to fill up to the top. You are the cup. 0% to 100% function is there on the left. So at the bottom, you're totally bottomed out. You can't function at all. 100% is optimal function. And remember, optimal function is also within this realm of you have 20 to 40% of your dopamine, right? We're optimizing that whole space. So when we maximize first, blue is going to be our maximize, then that brings us up to about 50% optimal function. These are just relative numbers. You know, it'll vary per person, but spoiler alert, maximize has a lot to do with exercise and speaking with intent and working out with intent and moving with intent. So, all right, exercise brings us up to 50% of optimal function. And then we go through and we add our protect layer, which is going to be essentially strategies that help you decrease your body's inflammation. We're going to talk about nutrition and all kinds of good stuff. But we add those strategies in. And then to get us up to the optimal 100% functioning, that's where our supplement comes in, and that's where traditional Parkinson's medications play a role. So you can see in our overall plan of attack, medication plays a very small part, ideally. Everyone's different. This is the theory of the plan of attack. Because right now, levodopa is still the gold standard of symptomatic treatment for Parkinson's disease. So the chart that I'm showing you right here, you know, medication isn't the gold standard in this approach. And so it's a little bit different than what we're traditionally coaching you guys on doing, which is fill up your, optimize yourself with your medications first, and then we're going to exercise a bit, and then we're going to see how much we can do to protect your brain. So I'm not here to demonize medication. I think medication is amazing. It helps you function, you know. But when we use it as the foundation of our plan of attack, we traditionally have to use a lot more to get us to a higher state of function. Is this making sense? So as you guys probably are familiar with, Parkinson's medications, while they can be amazing, they also come with some side effects, which you guys have probably experienced. And the goal as a therapist, as a healthcare provider, my goal is to help you minimize the amount of medication that you need over time so those side effects are not as intense and you can stretch out your utilization of medication longer. Okay? So we do it backwards, or at least right now our healthcare system is kind of set up so that, woo, hello, everyone's awake, raising your dopamine. Traditionally, we plug in medication first, and so it's because it's our gold standard. But we're going to reshape the gold standard because levodopa medication has been the same for 60 years or so. So we need some innovation in the Parkinson's department, I believe. It's my 100% biased opinion. Okay, so your mindset matters. Before we jump into the 3 segments, I do want to take a second to acknowledge mindset. And everything I share with you today won't matter at all if you don't believe you can powerfully impact the trajectory of your disease. So if we take Speak Out, for example, and the loud crowd, you guys have powerfully impacted your symptoms just by taking action in that realm, right? So you guys sitting in this room and probably watching believe that you can change the trajectory of your disease. But I understand that it's scary, and it's okay to be scared, but it's also okay to have hope. If you found yourself feeling hopeless, anxious, paralyzed by fear, it's really important to seek out professional guidance. And that's not to say that if you feel anxious once in a while, you need to go see a therapist. But that, kind of heavy feeling that prevents you from doing the 3 components of your plan of attack, if you just can't motivate yourself or get in the right mindset, it's really powerful to actually see someone who's a professional. And I wanted to throw this in here because it was a really great study that sorry, it runs off the end there. I'm not sure what happened. But this is a really great study that I read about cognitive behavioral therapy for depression and anxiety and Parkinson's. And I'm going to show you how to find a CBT therapist in your area. But when I'm working with clients, I notice the biggest hurdle is the mindset piece. Once we get over that, doors fly open, people make huge strides. You're not afraid of, working out with me. You're like feeling, of course, it's not all rosy all the time. I understand that that's not accurate. But this is the kind of key that unlocks the door. And unfortunately, this is really too small to see, but what they're finding in the research is that when you have core beliefs about your Parkinson's diagnosis that give you anxiety and depression and whatnot, you can believe a certain thing about your diagnosis that leads to your actions. And at the bottom here, essentially, if you come from a disempowered mindset about your diagnosis, which is normal, and it's a really scary place to be. It can be. But we get down here to the point where you start avoiding activities and isolating yourself, and then we hit anxiety and depression, and they just fill each other up, So if we can come back to the top and believe that it's okay to have hope and that there is something that you can do about your diagnosis, it's really, really powerful, and it can take you out of that really heavy depression, anxiety, but it doesn't happen without the help of a therapist most of the time. So if you want to find a CBT therapist or know someone who might benefit from one, you can just Google search Psychology Today, find a CBT therapist, and that database will pop up. So now let's get into the good stuff. So this is Bob and actually his dog Dallas. And this was how we started every session. And so we're going to talk first about maximizing, which is component number 1. Our goal here is to maximize the dopamine you have circulating in your system. All right, our strongest tool, supported in the evidence, is exercise. How many, by a show of hands, the physical therapists in this room will appreciate this, how many of you guys are exercising regularly? 3 to 4, 5 times a week? Hey, we've got a very empowered crew. That's awesome. So that is our strongest tool that's supported in the evidence. And this review that came out in July 2018. It's really great. And you can't read it, but essentially, physical activity slows the disease process, decreases pain, prolongs independent mobility, improves sleep, mood, memory, has the potential to improve non-motor symptoms like depression, apathy, fatigue, and constipation, and slow the secondary complications of immobility. Don't you want some, like in a bottle, ready for you? That's the best medication I've ever heard, and I don't see any side effects specified, like bigger muscles, and sometimes you get tired after. So, I'm biased if you can't tell. So exercise, it doesn't help you to produce more dopamine. It does help you utilize the dopamine that you are producing more effectively. So I imagine it to be this dopamine dam, is this analogy that I use. So you've got a big pond of dopamine, and it's walled off by the dopamine dam, and then your brain and your body is in this valley below, this beautiful forest that is a little bit thirsty, right? So when you exercise, you raise the dam or open the dam, however that works. I'm not an engineer. And the dopamine comes down and flows into the forest and kind of replenishes it. So it doesn't actually fill up your lake, but it unlocks that dam. Is that making sense? So most of you guys probably feel it. After you work out, you move better, you feel better, you think better. So how often should we be exercising? This is Gary on our pole walk. How often should you be exercising? The more, the better. And I don't say that because I'm a physical therapist and I'm biased, but the research really does support 30 minutes per day, 7 days a week. And that seems like a lot, and that is honestly more than the general population works out, right? But again, since exercise is the best medicine, it's important to prioritize it, and that's why it helps to build the foundation of our plan of attack. So, what kind of exercise is best for Parkinson's? Some of you guys may have heard I give a talk occasionally about the 7 elements of a highly effective exercise program. Has anybody heard that talk? Okay, well, the 7 elements are in this guide, the handout that I gave you, only because I don't have enough time to go into all of them, but you want to build your exercise program on really big and powerful movements. Should be physically challenging, mentally challenging, should be fun. Those are the things that are going to be the most powerful. So I dive into all the elements and how to implement them in your routine in the free guide, so you guys can take a look at that. But I also give it to you and say, what kind of exercise is the best for Parkinson's? The kind that you'll do, right? So that's the end all be all, is what will you do? And let's start there. All right, speaking of, where should you start? There are a lot of different places you could start with exercise. So physical therapy, personal training, group fitness classes like boxing, Tai Chi, cycling, and then online exercise programs or YouTube videos. So these are 4 very different places that you could start with your exercise program. I will say that at the heart of everyone's program should be a physical therapist. And again, I don't say that as a physical therapist with a bias, but they're going to be one of the most helpful healthcare practitioners on your team who's going to be fighting on your side and educating you. And they can tailor a program specifically for your needs. You may have more desire to get out and hike the Alps, one day, versus you want to, run a marathon, versus you want to, I have high aspirations for everyone here. I can't run a marathon. You want to MS 150 cycle across the world. Yeah, right? So everyone's got different goals and different, knee replacements, rotator cuff issues, back pain. A physical therapist is going to be able to tailor your exercise program to your needs and then adjust it over time so that you're working out as effectively and efficiently as possible. But I also have a guide on the blog. It walks you through, I think, 7 questions to ask yourself, where do you want to get started with exercise? So it sounds like a lot of you guys are already exercising, but if you're thinking about jumping into any of these other areas, it's a good guide to kind of walk you through that. All right, I'm going to take another drink, I think. new water bottle. So this is component number 2 is protect. So our goal here is going to be to protect the undamaged brain cells that remain from further damage. There's a lot of green in this picture for a reason. That's at my mother and father-in-law's house. I was at their house staying, and I decided she's always great. My mother-in-law, side note, my mother-in-law is great. Sally, if you're watching, you're just fantastic. She is. She buys all this stuff and has it ready at the house. She makes sure that we've got grass-fed butter and avocados and organic berries. She's just the best. So anyway, this is at my husband's parents' house. We're making a green smoothie. Has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but okay. So here's something to understand about protecting your brain. The Parkinson's hallmark sign is the accumulation of alpha-synuclein. Have you guys heard of alpha-synuclein? Okay. That's great. So alpha-synuclein is the protein that aggregates or accumulates in the part of the brain responsible for dopamine production, which is your substantia nigra. These deposits, called Lewy bodies, which you guys have probably heard of, affect chemicals in your brain, cause brain cell death, and then cause disruptions in the way you move, you think, and you feel. And research suggests that there's a link between this brain degeneration process and inflammation. In other words, the culprit responsible for a majority of the cellular damage in your brain and your body is chronic low-grade inflammation. So inflammation is a really big buzzword right now for a good reason. It contributes to a lot of our chronic diseases like cancer and diabetes and heart disease and neurological diagnoses, just like Parkinson's. So in order to protect your brain cells from as much future damage as possible, you need to be able to lower your body's overall inflammation levels. And here is how we do that. Your inflammation levels are contributed, or these are the 6 things that contribute to your inflammation levels. So we've got nutrition, your tribe, exercise, which we talked about already. Exercise is in both. Toxins, sleep, and stress. So you might be thinking, I have trouble with almost all of those things. And we're going to talk about that today. Because if you think about protecting your brain, and we have a lot of opportunities for improvement, all of us, we're always on this constant fight to get more sleep and decrease stress. But our goal essentially is to lessen the things in our life that contribute to inflammation and increase the things that decrease inflammation. And it's an ongoing process, right? It's never going to be perfect, and you're never going to be 100% accurate. I had bread this morning. I don't have a diagnosis of Parkinson's, and so but you guys, right now, your brain is essentially on fire, and we need to put that fire out, and it's really, really important. So occasionally having a few things that raise your inflammation levels is totally fine, but overall, as a whole, we want to bring them down. So the question that I get all the time, does it really matter, or does what I eat really matter? Don't you wish I was going to say no? Don't you wish? Everybody's like, oh, no. Yeah, I'm definitely going to say yes. So here's the quick look. Your brain health is directly tied to inflammation. That is something that's really prominent in the research right now. Especially depression, anxiety, mood disorders, Alzheimer's, dementia. Our brain health is those diagnoses are definitely directly tied to your body's level of inflammation. Your gut health and your blood sugar levels both impact inflammation. And what you eat is the main driver of those things, your gut health and your blood sugar levels. And so therefore, what you eat contributes to your brain health. And the next question I always get is what foods are good to eat and what foods are bad to eat, quote unquote, good and bad. And there's quite a bit of research out there. We're going to talk a little bit about foods here in a second, but again, it's just a lot to cover. And so in the bonus that I've made for you guys, there are the 4 foods to dump and 5 foods to add. So I made sure we added more than we got rid of. And I promise getting rid of coffee is not in there, and chocolate. So you guys can keep both of those. So, all right, have I won you back yet? Is that good? Okay. So make sure you grab that. And let's cover just the number one thing that makes inflammation go up as far as food is concerned. And it's going to be our favorite, sugar and sugar additives. And they're so good. And with Parkinson's especially, we have an affinity to sugar because dopamine is responsible for our energy levels and our alertness. And when we have less dopamine, we naturally crave the things that increase our energy, increase our alertness, and sugar does a really good job of that. And so it's not easy getting rid of that, but that is actually one of the number one things that can make inflammation go up. So overall, we want to decrease those types of things. Something I like to say is you don't have to get rid of it all and forever. If you have special occasions, definitely don't change your life to the point where you're miserable, but just be mindful that you're taking medicine with the food that you eat, and you eat 6 to 8 times a day. So food is medicine. You put it in your mouth and you swallow it, just like you do food, or just like you do pills. So the number one thing that makes inflammation go down is green leafy vegetables. Snake oil. Okay, we got it out of the way. Snake oil is green leafy veggies. Those are high in antioxidants. They help bring your inflammation levels down. A lot of people who go through my programs and that I even just talk to online who are implementing a lot of the, you may have heard of Grain Brain. You guys may have heard of Dr. Lori Mishley in Seattle. Anyone? Oh, I'm going to just blow your mind. Okay, she is out in Seattle, and she did a nutrition and Parkinson's study that looked at people who had been diagnosed with Parkinson's. All they did was share with her what kinds of foods they eat, what they do in a regular day, how their stress levels are. And what she's seen is that people who are eating more green leafy vegetables, some of the foods that we talk about in the PDF, but green leafy vegetables, healthy fats, they're avoiding a lot of processed food, avoiding a lot of sugar, their Parkinson's prognosis is slower over time. And it's called the CAMS study for Parkinson's. Pro-PD, I think, is something that you could find her at. But she's got an amazing study that's open access that you guys can read, but essentially it's a Mediterranean diet has been what she's found that's been linked to the slower progression of Parkinson's. So lots of fish, green leafy vegetables, and only a croissant here or there. All right, so I don't have time to hop into all of the other aspects of protecting your brain. I could be here all day to talk about them, but I really don't want you guys to neglect them. A lot of people go, oh, okay, I'll try and sleep better. We know that just saying I'll sleep better doesn't really turn into, if anything, it makes it worse. So sleep is the time when your body restores itself and detoxifies. So if we're staying up late at night watching TV or whatnot, we're just not letting our body heal and not letting our body detoxify. And so I don't stand up here and say, so you guys need to do all of these things. I want to empower you with information so that at 9:30 you can say, I think I'm going to take a nice warm shower or bath, maybe not a bath, and I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to read a book because it's going to help my brain, So you don't have to do any of these things unless you want to. Stress. So this is really interesting. How many people have heard of the stem cell therapy studies for Parkinson's? I mean, they're still studies, they're not anything. Okay, so essentially, if you live a really stressful lifestyle, you're not doing a lot to reduce your stress, cortisol, the main stress hormone, can cause stem cells to malfunction. So in my mind, if you're getting screened for, or if you're considering stem cell therapy for your brain, it's important to first reduce that stress as much as you can. And sometimes that takes saying no to a lot of really big things in your life or people. And that's really hard. So there are a lot of stress management techniques that we can talk about. Does anyone meditate in here? I meditated this morning. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. There are all kinds of breathing apps and meditation apps. You can dance. That's meditation. Something that's kind of gets you into the flow state and turns your brain down can be one of the most powerful things that I've seen with my clients to, even calming a tremor or getting unstuck. I think in a way, living with intent is a form of meditation, right? So you're coming back to the present moment over and over and over again, and that's all meditation is. So you guys already have a really amazing start knowing a lot of you live with intent. So you're already jump-starting your stress. Way to go, guys. Okay, your tribe. So you guys are here. You're a tribe. And for those of you guys who are watching at home, isolation may lead to slower communication between different parts of your brain. So getting out, seeing people, making eye contact. I'm a big fan of hugs, but you don't have to be. Getting in contact, communing with the people around you, and even if it's just one person at church or going for coffee with a friend, get out of the house, see people, formulate a tribe, and don't be afraid to lean on people who love you and are around you. And if you don't have a tribe, I'll invite you to our virtual one here in a little bit. But see people in person. It's really important to see people face to face. And then our fourth area is toxins. I could talk about toxins all day long, but essentially, if you think about toxins are stored in fat, and your brain is 60% fat. So when we're consuming things that have chemicals in it, whether it's processed food or unclean water or whatnot, our body's trying to detoxify that. What it does is it swallows it up with fat, and then it deposits it in fat cells in your body and in your brain. So it is really important, your beauty hygiene products, making sure that there's a whole list of chemicals essentially we want to avoid, but we're going to jump over that one today. But when we're thinking about our plan of attack, we're piecing out which one of these feels doable to attack. I want to make an effort this month to have lunch with someone every Wednesday. Or come here every Wednesday if you're in Dallas. Or maybe I'm going to do 30 days. I'm going to try one meditation app. I'm going to try 5 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day, 1 minute a day with a meditation app. We're going to do that for a month. You don't have to do all of these at once, but pick out one thing to do consistently and then add it, because this is a marathon and not a sprint, right? We all doing okay? I see a couple people sleeping. Not gonna point them out. Okay. It's all right. All right, so component number 3, supplement. So we've done maximize, we've done protect, and now we're into supplement. So again, this is the things that you do potentially after you've maximized, after you've made a really big effort at protecting your brain. These are the things that we start to jump into to supplement our dopamine levels. So we're going to supplement our program with additional strategies that boost your dopamine, compensate for lost function, or are symptom specific. So, like I said before, this is our recap. We maximized, we protected, and now we're up to this little top part of supplementing. And this is where your plan gets personal. Everyone in here is different. Everyone chooses to explore different areas of health and alternative methods differently. Some people are really open-minded about trying everything, and other people really want to stick to the traditional stuff. So it's up to you to personalize your plan, but this is where it gets really fun. We really want to supplement to the point where we're as optimized as possible. So what are your choices? Well, the main strategy in this area is Parkinson's medications. And if you want to take medication, that's your choice. If you don't want to take medication, that's also your choice. I really don't fall on one side or the other. I think if you need to exercise to be able, or if you need to take medication to be able to exercise, let's do that. If you would never want to take medication ever, you don't have to. But understand that there's a balance and there's no right or wrong. So there are a lot of people who say you should never take them ever at any what am I trying to think? You should never take them, ever. And then other people rely on them to move. A lot of you guys are probably in that camp. But I do want to explore some alternatives or some alternative medicine strategies that have a little support in the research, but not as much as exercise. So the first one being acupuncture. Does anyone do acupuncture regularly? Awesome. Acupuncture has mixed results for Parkinson's. It's stronger than a lot of other alternative medicine techniques, but it can help a lot with sleep and mood. A lot of my clients say that it's helped them with restless leg syndrome, can help with rigidity. These are all now subjective per person. So I've also heard that it's really great for normalizing hormones, which, Parkinson's isn't happening in isolation, right? So we have all these different things that are contributing to your health when you have a Parkinson's diagnosis. So acupuncture can be great for other health conditions as well. Massage. Does anyone get massages in here? Yeah, people swear by them. Massages can really help with rigidity, can help with stiffness. I would always love an excuse to go get massages regularly, but massages can be a really great place to supplement. If you can decrease your medication a little bit by adding in a massage every Monday, our overall goal is to decrease as much medication as possible to keep you at optimal function. So we're in this balance, right? Then some people explore deep brain stimulation. How many people in here have had DBS? Awesome. Yeah, it can be really, really beneficial and help bring you up to that optimal functioning that exercise and nutrition and stress management can't. And then I know this is controversial in Texas. I live in Texas too. I have to put it up here though. So cannabis is an area that's being explored for Parkinson's. I did an interview with a woman whose practice in California is purely based off of the cannabinoid system. And there are benefits to THC and CBD that I won't get into, but essentially I talk to clients, and then after a couple sessions we end up getting to the point where they tell me that they're experimenting. And it has mixed results. I've heard that it can help with sleep, anxiety, mood, those types of things. Anxiety can be a really big limiting factor in Parkinson's. So that is just an option that I'm not encouraging or discouraging. It's just on the slide. And also supplements. So supplementation, there are some general supplements that are beneficial for brain health. So turmeric, coconut oil, some of the things in Dr. Lori Mishley's work supports coconut oil, herbs and spices. Turmeric is one of those things. Digestive enzymes can help with being able to break down food and help you absorb your nutrients better. But when it comes to recommending supplements, the first thing I have to say is if you're eating poorly, supplementing your diet isn't going to change much. You can't supplement away a bad diet. But if you are interested and you've changed your nutrition to the point where you're getting some really healthy nutrients there, going to see a healthcare practitioner who can personalize your supplement profile is the best bet. They can do some lab work with you. Has anyone heard of Dr. Dale Bredesen, The End of Alzheimer's? Okay. Dr. Lori Mishley in Seattle is doing a lot of work where you get your lab tests done, and then you see a practitioner who looks at your deficiencies and can help you supplement with, maybe you need vitamin D or B12 or thiamine or whatever it is. And that's kind of in line with Dr. Dale Bredesen, his protocol that he uses, which he's helping people reverse cognitive impairment, and his goal is to eliminate Alzheimer's, which would be a huge, huge feat. So, but anyway, I would say if you're looking to supplement more than just taking a multivitamin, it can get really expensive to buy supplements and not know if they're actually working, right? We can end up eating supplements for each meal, and we already don't want our lives to revolve around a bottle. So, a pill bottle, or any other bottle. A water bottle, maybe. We're going to segue into a different talk. You guys ready? Okay, just kidding. All right, so here's a website for those of you who are watching. If you just type into Google functional medicine practitioner, you can find a practitioner on their website who would be a good person to start with if you're looking to have a kind of analysis to see what supplements would be good for you. There are some cons, which it can be pricey, and it's not typically covered by insurance. So, it's time to check in. This one is not related to me, although I would steal it in a heartbeat. If you are is anybody feeling overwhelmed? A couple people. That's a lot of information, right? I just essentially gave you a ton of information, and the handout that I created will definitely help, but I want you to remember that this is a marathon and not a sprint. So this plan of attack, this isn't something that you go home and you're like, all right, it's Saturday afternoon, I'm going to, have some coffee and we're going to bang out this plan of attack, and in 48 hours I'm going to know exactly, I'm going to be sleeping right, I'm going to be eating right, I'm going to be working out. That doesn't happen like that, right? So, two things. It's 100% normal to feel overwhelmed. Actually, I have way more than two things. The first thing is it's okay to be overwhelmed. The second thing is you need a coach. So if you have a care partner who's a great coach, that's a good place to start. But having someone on your healthcare team on board with kind of this mindset of, I want to prioritize exercise and I want to talk about diet. Physical therapists, in my very biased opinion, are typically more open to having that conversation and sitting with you and talking about, where you're at, where you're going. So have someone on your team who's supportive of your plan of attack. Be your own advocate. Ask questions of your healthcare providers, including your physical therapists, and measure your progress. So, let me back up. Before we measure our progress, what I would say is take one thing that I talked about today. Sounds like you guys are exercising, so we've got that one covered. Maybe it's nutrition. We want to kind of tackle our nutrition. Let's set out 30 days, 1 month from now. The only thing I'm going to focus on, we're going to keep everything the same, but I'm going to just focus on my nutrition. Pick one thing that you could get rid of that might be easier, and one thing that you could add. And kind of just slowly work your way into it, because this is hopefully something that you can be working on as kind of your Parkinson's masterpiece, if you will, for a long time coming. And to measure your progress, I'm going to give you guys a website, because it's not in my handout and it's not up here that I wanted you guys to have. If you guys go to propd.org, that is, the ProPD is a self-assessment tool. And it's the assessment tool that Dr. Lori Mishley uses in her study. You go through and you just essentially measure your self-measure your symptoms, and there's a sliding scale. It takes a little bit of time, but at the end of it, you hit a button and it spits out a number, and that's going to be essentially where you fall on this kind of Parkinson's scale. And it doesn't matter how you compare to anybody else. What it matters is you have your number now. And so when you're implementing some of these new strategies, you can go, and I wouldn't say remeasuring every month is necessary, because we don't want to be obsessed with our numbers, right? Maybe remeasuring every 3 months or every 6 months, just setting a little reminder on your calendar, on your phone, to remeasure, because that number essentially will tell you kind of where you're at in your Parkinson's symptoms. And if you're doing these strategies, you will notice benefits in your energy, in your walking, depending on what you're doing, right? You're exercising, you're going to feel a lot better. And so that number isn't meant to be, anything scary, but it is a good way to objectively measure if you're making progress. So that's a good place to start for that. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all there. So I'm not sure why you showed up today. Maybe you were frustrated with the lack of guidance out there and how to live well with your Parkinson's diagnosis. It could be that you're motivated to act, you just didn't know where to put your effort and energy for best results. You still might not know. I hope you know a little bit more now. And then you might have just been bored and wanted to hang out with me on a Saturday morning, which is totally fine by me. But here's what I want you to know. It doesn't matter if you're newly diagnosed or a decade into your Parkinson's journey. You're not alone. There is more that you can do than take more medication and pray for a cure. And that journey begins with one step. And that step can start today. So I want you to download your guide, start building your plan of attack, and join our community and let me know how you're doing. So I will give you a link here to our community, but I do want you guys to know, everyone here and everyone watching, that it may feel really isolating and frustrating to receive that diagnosis, but there is a lot that you can do, and there's always someone who will be your advocate and your teammate, and if you don't have anyone, come join our tribe, and it's free. I'm not about to pitch anybody on anything. Come join our tribe. It's totally free, and I'm active in our Facebook group, and I'm just always down to be the tribe if you guys don't have one. So these are all of my resources, and then this is Minor. Minor's great. When I met Minor, he couldn't walk to his mailbox and back, and by the end of our therapy, we were hiking the hill of life. So he's great. All right, so our free Facebook community is invigoratept.com/community. I'm on YouTube and on Facebook, and I would love to connect with you guys if you're active on social media. If you're here, I'll stay here and answer any of your questions. And I just really appreciate you guys coming. Go forth and prosper.
So we'll take questions now. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll bring a microphone to you so we can everybody can hear your question, including those watching on the live stream.
Question over here. Hi.
Hi.
There. Okay. When you were talking about the supplement and you had the acupuncture, the massage, and all that, you had maybe I wasn't sleeping, but I looked up and there was a picture of someone like they were painting a picture. Was that for being
I
creative?
skipped over that one.
Did you forget?
Yeah, I did. Painting.
Yes,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did not even pay her to check me out. Great. I actually added that one on the plane yesterday. So painting, moving, creative expression. How many of you guys are artists, musicians? I know we're not in Austin, so maybe a few less hands. Okay. So art and music and dance and kind of tapping into that creative part of your brain. That's where dopamine lives, right? Dopamine loves creativity. And so finding this flow state, I have so many clients who do something, because I am in Austin, I have so many clients who, play guitar, or they're painters, or, they sing. You guys have Sing Out? I think there's a slide I can go to. Singing. You guys have all these creative expressions, and a lot of people, when you enter this flow state, it's very similar to meditation. Your brain syncs up to focus on that one thing, and so it's kind of like this this washing over of your nervous system that kind of resets things and can help you increase your function a little bit. So does anyone dance for fitness in here? Dance? Yeah. So dancing is one of those things that it seems like it kind of coordinates your brain and your body together. It is movement too, but there's something that you come out of it and you just feel like you're more connected, moving more fluidly. So thanks for checking that one. Appreciate it. Does that answer your question? Okay. A follow-up.
Hello. So my sister lives in Austin. She's good friends with one of the founders of the, what is it called?
Power for Parkinson's?
Power for Parkinson's. So we put that on the computer all the time.
Oh, it's so
Sometimes
good.
it's hard to, figure. And so my husband does a lot of the exercises with it. It's fantastic.
That's great.
So you have other, there are other places that do that too?
Other Power for
videos?
Parkinson's. So
Yeah.
she's talking about Power for Parkinson's is the nonprofit, in Austin, and they film some of their exercise classes and put them on YouTube. So if you guys have found them on YouTube, they're great classes. So that's probably one of the best. I would say also NeuroFit BC is on YouTube. NeuroFit BC. Naomi is a friend of mine, actually. She lives in Vancouver, but she puts a lot of exercises on YouTube as well. I have the online exercise program, the Booster program. That is a paid program. But Nate Coomer at the Parkinson's Fitness Project, he's in the northeast. I want to say Seattle, but I don't think that's right. Maybe he is in Seattle. Sorry, Nate, if you're watching. But he's great. He's got a daily dose. It's a subscription model, I think, but you get new exercise videos once a week. So there's all kinds of things that you could do online for exercise, assuming that you're safe, at home. I don't want anybody to fall. Sure.
Yeah, my husband couldn't come today. He has Parkinson's, and he also has diabetes, which has kept him from having deep brain stimulation because his blood sugar is too high. He really needs somebody like you. So the Dallas Mitchell area, how do we find? He already has a physical therapist, but somebody who is as knowledgeable as you. Is there a particular title that you have that we could Google online and find other people?
Parkinson's obsessed. I think I got addicted after my first client, and it's really important to me. I just feel like Parkinson's for me specifically is just this place that I've found really is meaningful to me, and I feel like is definitely an underserved, area. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. If I could clone myself out, I would definitely do it. But I will tell you that all I am is educated and passionate. And so I write a lot of blog posts. I have a lot of videos on YouTube. I do Facebook Lives on my Facebook page that are interviews with amazing experts, wherever Samantha is. She was one of my guests. That was one of the best interviews that I think I've had. And so it's honestly just being educated. And so going to your physical therapist, I'm trained in the Parkinson's Wellness Recovery Program, which is physical therapy certification. And so there's a database of physical therapists who are power trained and also very passionate about Parkinson's. The LSVT.
What is that? Is it a web address for that database, or?
There's a website. Yep. So PWR, the number 4, life, LIFE, .org. And I think let's see if I can go all the way back. But also LSVT big therapists are passionate about Parkinson's as well. The Power program is essentially just a different style using the same underlying research as the big program. I'm terrible. Okay, we're not going to do this. I'm just going to make you guys dizzy. But on my blog, if you guys go to invigoratept.com/blog, you can search the blog for a getting started guide. And there's links to the Parkinson's physical therapist databases on that post as well. But to answer your question, physical therapist or someone on your healthcare team, listen, they want to help you. Some people might not know as much as other people, and that's okay. We can't all know everything, which is why it's important to see Parkinson's specific providers. So Parkinson's trained neurologists are called movement disorder specialists. Having PTs, OTs, speech therapists who are trained in Parkinson's is really important. But then just bringing them information and wanting to talk to them about it. If they're not, really gung-ho about having a conversation with you about these wellness strategies that go beyond medication, then this might not be a popular thing to say, but you might need to find a provider who is. You know, having someone to be your advocate is really important in the healthcare system. And as soon as I learn how to clone myself, I will send myself up to Dallas for sure.
Sarah.
Yes.
We have a physical therapy clinic right around the corner that does the power program, the Baylor Scott and White. Mike Brach, right over
I didn't
here,
know. Yeah,
Yep.
I was like, okay.
is dedicated to Parkinson's. So there are 2 resources right there.
Yeah, and I'm sure when you talk to anybody who's in the area who's not close by, like I'm sure they can help you find. They probably know someone who's great. Sure.
You mentioned early in your address the Parkinson plan of attack.
Yeah.
Is that available for distribution to this group?
The workshop. So the talk, the Parkinson's plan of attack.
Right.
I have a 30-day program that's a workshop. It is a paid program, but I could get Samantha like a discount code or something, and we could figure that out. The handout is free. Is that what you're at? Yeah. So the handout that's at invigoratept.com/PVP-bonus, that's free. And that's got a lot of this information in it. So yeah, you're welcome to that. And on my blog, if you're interested in different topics like stress or sleep or nutrition, just go to the blog, search it. Everything there is free, and there's lots of great information to help get you guys started.
And we can definitely follow up with an email to people who attended today to give the link out to that as well.
Okay, great.
Right, question.
I am a lucky person to have Parkinson's and diabetes as well.
Okay.
And I've noticed here lately that if my blood sugar is out of control or up high,
Yeah.
my medicine is just ineffective.
Yeah.
And I've been asking if there's a study somewhere that links those two, but there's more studies that haven't been come out. There is a link somewhere between diabetes and Parkinson's, but specifically with medication and the control. Obviously, if I could get perfect control, I would. But
Right.
But I've noticed that there is an impact there. So, is there someplace I can go that you know of that actually talks more about diabetes and Parkinson's together, and how to control?
That's a great question. I don't think of any research studies specifically off the top of my head, but there's a lot of research coming out that if you have a diagnosis of diabetes and you have, because that's, again, blood sugar and gut health and inflammation and whatnot can contribute. Is it type 1 or type 2? 2, okay. Type 1 and type 2 are a bit different, but type 2 especially, what they're seeing in the research now is you're more prone to develop Alzheimer's if you have diabetes, which are both linked to gut health and inflammation, so it kind of makes sense. And the reverse is wonderful, that the things that will help with diabetes and blood sugar control also help with brain health, so keeping that spin on it as well. So I can think of some studies, and I would have to dig a little bit, that talk about the link between diabetes and Alzheimer's and maybe some neurodegenerative. I forget where I heard it, but I thought it was like diabetes, and then Alzheimer's is diabetes of the brain, and then there's like the third, Parkinson's, kind of related in there. A good resource I would say is Dr. David Perlmutter. He talks a lot about the connection between inflammation and diabetes and brain health. So he's got a blog and a couple books and stuff too. So Perlmutter, Perlmutter. Yeah, you're welcome.
So right here?
Yeah.
I'm Catherine. I'm Catherine. My husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 10 years ago. He's not here today. And I had a couple of suggestions, if you want to hear that.
I would love to hear them.
Okay. Early on, sometimes you can get medication from a mail-order pharmacy that has a discount, but he was off in the summer and off in the winter, and we determined that the heat in the summer in the mailbox and the cold in the winter was inactivating his medication.
Wow.
So they thought his Parkinson's was getting worse, and it was just affecting the drugs in the mailbox. So we get everything from the pharmacy, and they keep it a constant temperature. So he wasn't fluctuating,
Wow.
and that way we could reduce a lot of his medication, and we just figured that out. So I
Wow.
took that in for anyone who needs to know.
I will.
In Texas, we have extremes of temperature,
We do.
so consider that.
Thank
And
you.
The other one is kind of a funny suggestion, but I'll add it. He has gastric paresis, a slowing of the GI reflexes, and so he takes voice lessons here, voice therapy. It helps a lot, but he can't swallow as well. And so sometimes his food lingers on his tongue, and he was developing the alter of sense of smell and taste. And we figured out it was because some residual food was staying on his tongue, and that made his sense of smell bad, and he didn't want to eat. So he now brushes his tongue with a mint toothbrush, and it makes him able to eat more.
Wow.
And I say that my father was a dentist, and he used to say, brush your tongue too. So that's a funny
So brush your tongue and get your medication at the pharmacy.
Yeah. So anyway.
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
Oh, share as much with that as you want. I'll give you my email address. You just shoot me all that stuff. That's great. Thank you. Yes.
This is a comment for the lady back here. She wants resources. Dance for PD is very important, and it's a very good program. Dance for PD. Dance for PD.
Dance for PD. It's a good.
And what do you think of Reiki?
Great. If you enjoy Reiki and it helps you. The thing about the supplement part of your plan of attack, something that I say is when you're formulating your plan of attack, it's an N equals 1 mentality. So in studies, they tell you how many people are in a study. N equals 8,000 people. For you, and Reiki specifically, you're a study of 1. N equals 1. So maybe Reiki doesn't have randomized controlled trials for Parkinson's that says that it's good for Parkinson's. But if you go to Reiki and you notice that you walk better and you feel better, well, that should be part of your plan of attack. So I've never done Reiki. I feel like you have to be very bold to do Reiki. But maybe I should try it. It's a form I'm going to butcher it, but it's a form of massage. No? Reiki isn't? Okay.
Healing modality where you put the hands right above the body in certain areas of the body, and you move your hands like this through the body. There are certain esoteric symbols that you use first.
Okay.
And then it's an energy transfer, basically.
What am I thinking of that's a really, really deep, aggressive, soft tissue?
Oh, that's Rolfing.
Rolfing. Totally different. Sorry. Reiki, all about it. Rolfing too, if you like it. Sorry. Thank you for clearing that up. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Okay, hold on. I think we need the...
I have a diet question.
Sure.
Do you have an opinion on dairy as it relates to inflammation or overall health and health as it relates to Parkinson's?
Yes. So I do have an opinion. That is in, spoiler alert, in your handout. One of the foods to avoid is dairy. And dairy is one of those foods, especially in the Parkinson's research, that there's a lot of research that supports the development of Parkinson's being linked to consuming a lot of dairy. In Lori Mishley's work, she's kind of confirming that a dairy intake. Actually, it's in her research, I think it's kind of inconclusive, but she does say in the report, because there is so much research linked to the development of Parkinson's from dairy products, that she recommends avoiding it, and it's not worth to her, in her opinion.
I saw her speak this summer.
She's great.
Yeah, she is great. I saw Dr. Mishley speak this summer, and she talked about dairy and basically said, don't do it. We don't need it as adults, as human beings, and it really, I think she does see a connection, at least maybe not from a research standpoint, but from her ongoing work.
Yeah, I think she hypothesized it, and I included in the handout too a little bit of her, what she kind of reports in her study, but the theory is that, it raises inflammation levels, which misfold that alpha-synuclein and all that stuff. So she does say it's not worth it. We don't have conclusive evidence from her standpoint, but she just says that from what she knows to avoid dairy. And that can actually help with a lot of different, especially if you have a lot of mucus and a lot of like sinus infections and whatnot, dairy, getting rid of dairy could be beneficial for that as well. What else?
Sarah, could you tell us a little bit more about your online programs and what participating in that is like?
Sure. We did have a couple more questions. I think. I'm happy to. Okay, yeah, let's answer questions and then.
Oh, my turn. You've mentioned a handout. Is that something that you have with you today, or that's something we go online to print?
It's online, so it's 19 pages, so I didn't want to kill a bunch of trees. You're welcome to print it off. You're welcome to print it off and hand it out, copy it. No problem. I just didn't want to kill the earth today. Yeah, you're welcome.
I've enjoyed listening to your talk. I actually watch you on podcasts.
Oh, good.
Already. I wanted to mention your different sections of your idea, the tribe, the idea of the tribe. I think that's why when we come here to Parkinson Voice Project, and we've gone through all the speech language, and then they have for us the loud crowd, and we get to talk to each other, and we're supportive, and if somebody discovers something, it's great. Then we have our music, and that just is, you know, it makes you happy.
Yeah.
Besides exercising your lungs and, you know, just your voice. And, you know, I just want to say it's wonderful to see other things to tie this in with it, because I feel like this is my family, not just my tribe. It's my family, and they're helping me to get better, and I'm just thrilled. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, that's an endorsement if I've ever heard one. I totally agree. Round of applause for this facility. But it's really important, and obviously you guys are here, and so you know the value of a tribe. If you're watching online and you're watching and nobody else is around you, I can't think of a better thing to get in touch with other people who are in your shoes, who also support kind of the mindset that you're into. So, was there any other questions? Okay. I will tell you a little bit about my online program. So I have 2 online programs. One is the 30-day Parkinson's Plan of Attack workshop, and I created it essentially because I'm in Austin and I can't be everywhere. And so it takes these strategies and it puts it into daily 10 to 15 minute videos that you can watch. It comes with a workbook. It's got a little exercise at the end of every video for you to reflect on to build your own Parkinson's plan of attack. Like I said, it's 30 days. When you purchase it, you have access to it forever. And like I said, it's just developed out of not being able to be everywhere at once. And then the second program that I have is the 5-week online exercise program called the Booster Program. It's been around a little bit longer and also developed from the standpoint of not being able to be everywhere at once. It's not physical therapy, so if you can't walk without an assistive device, if you can't get up from a chair without help, and if you've had a fall in the last 3 months, the Booster Program is probably not the next step for you. Your next step is to go see a physical therapist who can help you improve your balance and make sure that you're not at a fall risk before you do that program. I created that mainly because people were reaching out from Montana and Wyoming and places where they had to drive 2.5 hours to go exercise, and they needed something a little more challenging for them. So those are my online programs, and you can find them on my website under, I think, what we offer is on the website. And I would love to have you join me if you feel so inclined. If you don't, totally understand that too. I'm available as a resource. I love, love, love interacting with my tribe. If you have any other questions after this, you can always shoot me an email, reach out through the website, or through our Facebook tribe. And I'll be happy to chat with you. So. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's give her a round of applause.